Okay, I think I've got my major talking points that I wanted to hit over, because I kind of wanted to go at this in like a time-based fashion of kind of like how the events played out. Obviously, I might miss some stuff because I'm a human and I'm not perfect. But I will try to, as best as I can, cover the situation at hand and kind of how things went down the way they went down. So, we're going to start at the beginning. Oh my goodness, I'm very sick. Of the information that I feel is relevant to the start of this situation, which is going to be this SPL team revamp from Hi-Rez, okay? So for those that don't know, going into Season 5, Hi-Rez is really revamping the way that the SPL is working. They're putting in a lot of money, and they're trying to bring in a bunch of new organizations, right? They're trying to bring in bigger orgs. They're trying to bring in more promotion for Smite. They're trying to bring in more viewership, right? They're trying to bring in, they want people with big just organizations, right? Twitter and Twitch and YouTube and all that good stuff. They want just more promotion for the SPL, which makes total sense, and it's a good move on Hi-Rez's part, right? You want to bring in and have orgs in the SPL, especially this season, because they are giving each org, right, $250,000. They're giving to each organization in Smite this year. 200 of that has to go to your team, which is for team salary of $30,000 per player per month, basically. And then the other, basically 50,000, you're allowed to do like whatever you want with, okay? So you can either additionally put it on top of your SPL salary, you could pick up a challenger circuit team, you could pocket it and run away into the sunset, as far as I'm aware. So, SPL is getting a big revamp in terms of organizations, okay? So Hi-Rez is then going to announce all of these organizations at Worlds, okay? They were going to announce all these teams. They ended up only announcing Splice at Worlds, as far as I'm aware. But they were supposed to announce all the teams, okay? And this is relevant because if they would have announced all these teams, there wouldn't have been any of this, basically, controversy, right? They didn't announce all the teams, and I'm pretty sure they didn't announce all the teams because all the organizations hadn't officially, necessarily signed the paper that was like, hey, you are an SPL organization, right? I'm pretty sure that basically there was some sort of issue where they didn't have every single team they wanted to announce sign the paperwork saying yes, we will be an SPL for the year. So they couldn't announce it yet because they didn't have every team 100% guaranteed in the league, right? So they don't end up announcing the orgs at Worlds like they were supposed to, okay? So then we get a leak of a memo, okay? A leak of a memo comes out that has supposedly all of the NA and EU organizations moving into Season 5. And there's some organizations on there that are new, but they don't have any controversy behind them, right? The controversial one is Mythic because it has MattyPocket's name by it, okay? It has Matty's name as the contact info for the organization. So Twitter gets a hold of this memo, Reddit gets a hold of this memo, and everything blows up, okay? Basically, they're like, Matty has an org, ? His org gets a SPL spot, ? Why is this happening? I do think that the previous situation with the Mirage ban kind of factored into this situation. I think if that situation would have never happened, then the Reddit would have blown up a little bit less than it did over this situation. But I think the combination of there being a bit of controversy over the previous MattyPocket bans Mirage situation then kind of already had the Reddit a little bit on edge. So basically, everybody goes, wait a second, why is Matty getting an SPL spot? The spiel on that is that, in fact, Matty was not getting an SPL spot. So Matty is good friends with basically the guy that like owns / co-owns Mythic. Okay, so Matty had actually talked to me a lot about this. Basically, he's good friends with, and I can't remember his Flom. He has like a 0 in his name. Anyway, he's like a big CSGO streamer, and he's like a big part of the organization of Mythic, okay? And they're a huge streamer org, and that's kind of their thing, is that they're an organization about streaming. They stream everything they do. Flom, is that how you pronounce it? Flom. So Matty's actually friends with him. And so Flom wanted to get kind of, in the organization, wanted to kind of get involved in Smite because they saw it as an opportunity because Hi-Rez is paying for everything, right? Pretty much every org kind of wants to get into the SPL because it's totally free from the organization perspective because Hi-Rez is paying for everything. So he's like, yeah, screw it. We would love to be a part of the SPL. And Matty's like, okay, I can help you and Hi-Rez get in contact with each other, right? As far as I'm aware, Matty has no money stake in Mythic at all. I don't even think he's a part of the stream group. I think he's literally just friends with the guy, and so he was like, hey, let me go contact Hi-Rez for you, right? And then Flom was probably like, hey, I know nothing about Smite, so why don't you help me do some of this stuff, like figure out if we get the spot, who I should pick up for a team, as I imagine what Matty was mostly doing. And Matty was like, yeah, sure. I'm your guy. I know about Smite. Okay? So, also, why did Hi-Rez pick Mythic? From my perspective, so Mythic is a streaming-based organization, right? Because a part of the controversy is why would Mythic even get this spot? Because they're not a huge org, and they're not. Like, other orgs that are being mentioned, like Splice is pretty big. Like, SK coming back, nobody's even questioning it. Because they're like, yeah, SK is just a massive organization, right? So, like, nobody's questioning them coming in. People are really questioning why Mythic's coming in because they were such a tiny org in comparison to, like, all these other orgs are bringing in. And I think it probably had a direct correlation with the fact that they're a streamer org and that they were going to be an organization in Europe. And the reason why I say that is because European Smite players don't make content. So from Hi-Rez's perspective, I imagine they probably wanted them over in Europe in order to have a team promoting content creation. When you think the top 5 content creators in Smite, you're probably looking at DM, Weekend, Matty, me, and Barra, I would probably say. Give or take, you know, obviously, like, Zap's pretty big as well. He's also NA. But, like, probably off the top of your head, you're probably thinking, like, those kind of group. Those are all NA, right? The biggest EU is probably Adapting, and Adapting's pretty big. But, you know, and other people, like, Pretty Prime streams a bit. Some other people stream a bit, but, like, they're not, like, it's pretty much, it's super heavily weighted NA. So I think from Hi-Rez's perspective, they were like, hey, let's bring in a streamer org for EU. And, like, in this situation, right, so Rival's out. So what if, like, Mythic picked up all of Rival, right, the whole team sticks together, and then you have the team that got second place at Worlds, and then Mythic is trying to get them to all stream everything they do. That would probably be really good for EU's viewership. So I imagine that's where they were coming from. Whether it was or not, I don't know, but I imagine that's probably what they were looking at. So then we get all the Reddit controversy, right? Everything happens. Why is Matty all this stuff? Blah, 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 blah. And then we work through all of that. And then we get the official Mythic response. So Mythic posts, it's on Reddit probably right now still. Mythic posts this giant thing about, hey, we didn't know about any of this controversial stuff. We have nothing to do with the fact that, Rival's not in the SPL. Obviously, Mythic has nothing to do with that. That would all be on high res. Or, if Rival dropped out, seemingly they didn't. But the point being that it's high res is that would kind of doing this. And so then you have Mythic being like, okay, we had nothing about anybody getting kicked out. We got in the SPL and we were super pumped about it. We don't pay Matty anything. He's just kind of our messenger guy. They're just kind of going through the like generic responses. Felix is trying to put in his input. He's like, oh, Matty's a feeder. No. Thank you, Felix. I speak kitty. So they go through this whole thing of like, hey, we just wanted to promote streaming and we wanted to promote content. We like streaming all of our professional games, right? And they're like, the whole message was like pretty good. The whole message was pretty good. It was just like kind of defending themselves, kind of saying, hey, we had nothing to do with any of this controversy. And then at the very end of their response, they basically said, because of this controversy, we're out. We're leaving. And so they have decided to leave the SPL before ever joining due to a controversy that was largely made up because of not being able to appropriately connect dots because things kind of seemed a little shady. So everything, all the information basically comes out. Everybody says, oh, okay, everything's out in the open now. And even though there was no actual controversy here, we're straight up leaving the SPL. And as far as that is concerned, honestly, I say that's fine. Go ahead and leave. I don't know what... I don't think... I think that them leaving the SPL was an extremely unprofessional response, is what I think. I think that them... There was no actual controversy here at the end of the day. And the fact that because they had a couple Reddit posts mad at them, that they decided to leave, I think kind of speaks poorly of them as an organization. They were already like the smallest, basically, org in Europe at this rate with them. They were getting $200,000 to have a free advertising for a Smite team. And they decided that it wasn't worth it to stay in Smite, even though of all this stuff. And so for me, I say that, honestly, I don't care that they're leaving. I think that there's probably way better orgs that we could get in Smite for Europe that are not them, honestly. Way bigger orgs that bring in more promotion. I like the idea that Hi-Rez was thinking, I don't blame Hi-Rez. I think Hi-Rez thinking, hey, we need more European content viewership. Let's bring in an organization that's all about content viewership was probably a smart idea. And then I think that Mythic just freaked out. I think they just freaked out and they were like, rah. But I think that them leaving doesn't necessarily hinder Smite. And I think that as a business organization, if you let a Reddit post drive you away from $250,000 in free advertisement, I don't know what to do about that. You know what I'm saying? That's just a bad business move. Maybe they were just trying to save face. Maybe Hi-Rez secretly kicked them out. But probably not. So that's kind of that. We have not had an official Hi-Rez response yet, but supposedly we are going to have an official Hi-Rez response about the whole situation today. So I'm kind of looking out for that. So that's kind of all the information that I have kind of put into a nicer timeline. So everybody can kind of have all the information. Basically, at the end of the day, There was almost no controversy whatsoever. It was all because of not announcing the orgs, because some of the orgs hadn't signed contracts yet, from as far as I'm aware, which wasn't really anybody's fault. It was just that maybe some orgs were carefully looking over paperwork more so than others, which nobody's at blame for. And I just think that the whole thing is kind of unfortunate for everybody involved. And I think that at the end of the day, I don't think Mythic being gone is terrible. Like, I think if SK would have left immediately, then that would have been so bad for Smite. But because it was such a small organization, and everything just kind of happened the way that it happened, I just simply don't think it's the end of the world for Smite. I think everybody's probably going to move forward from this and be fine. And at the end of the day, there's probably just going to be a bigger org that brings in even better stuff for Smite at the end of the day. And I think that everybody's going to move forward and be fine. And we'll probably forget about this entire controversy within a week or two. So that's all the information, guys. So it is what it is. And that's it for me, guys. I will see you all on Monday again for our next live stream. Thank you guys for your support. And as always, have a twitchin' day, y'all.
Thanks everybody for watching the video. If you want to watch more content, go ahead and click yourself down in the corner to watch another one of our videos. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can find that right up on there. And if you want to go ahead and buy some sweet merchandise, guys, you can click that right above my head. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, have a twitchin' day, y'all.